Welcome back to a family business podcast. What's the topic today?
Well, we're going to talk about the massive gap that's forming in real estate. And we're not talking about the market. It's about who's actually doing the work, right? So there was a stat that we used to say when we first got in the business, which was
I remember this.
80% of the business was done by 20% of
Yep.
the agents, right? And then what we hear next, PT,
That 90% of the people,
business was
90%
done.
of the business was done by 10% of the people.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now what the new trend is trending is what, Brad?
95.5.
Yeah, so 95% of the business is being done by 5% of the realtors. The middle is disappearing, guys. So I think like we're talking about, there's a podcast out there called The Top 13%. And
That sounds outdated.
I think they were better than 20, right?
Well, that's
I
good.
mean,
Yeah.
and I think what they're actually saying is that 13% succeed.
Yeah.
So we're talking though now is like, what is it when we're talking about the middle disappearing, we're trending towards that 95% of the business is being done by 5% of the agents. Like, what are they doing differently, right? Like, why is there this 5% of agents that are pulling away from the other 95%?
Mhm.
And we see it in our market. I mean,
Yes.
it is crazy how much we see it in our market.
Yeah.
Like, you look at, I don't even know how many agents there are nowadays. There used to be like 900. I think there's 800 now.
A lot.
And keep in mind, we're in an area of 600,000 people, and, not counting all the little towns around us.
Metro.
Yeah, the Quad City metro area. And I mean, there's maybe 50 people that sell more than $1 million every year.
There's more than that, but not a whole lot more. You're right.
Yeah. So, what is it that top 5% of people is doing different? Like, why is the middle, why are they disappearing? What's happening?
It's what you just said right there. They're different. They are thinking outside of the box. They're unique. They're showing their value, and they're showing up every day.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy to think that 95% of the people aren't showing up every day, but it's showing. And it's the true fact.
Well, and they also like to do the 95, like to do what like everybody else does, right? And you see this in every industry. You see this anywhere you go. I mean, it's really coming down to a lot of people are not willing to do the work. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And it's not complicated things, right?
No. You're seeing the industry a little bit getting snake bitten by the now realtor influencer aspect of it, right?
Yep.
Is that now the industry is being more comfortable with sharing how they're being successful, right?
Yep.
Through our phones, through our social media, and through emails and coaching and so forth. But people are just wanting to copycat what people are doing and being successful at, but they're not putting their own self into those situations.
Well, right. I mean, if we're going to really break this down, okay, to your point, PT, that's one of the things is that 95% are not prioritizing conversations over content. They think when they watch the person on social media that's just doing all these great reels that they just must be selling a crap ton of real estate.
And their life's perfect.
Yeah. And that's all you have to do to sell a crap ton of real estate.
Yep.
So they're not putting in the work to prioritize conversation, because that 5% of people that are actually selling real estate, and I'm not saying you can't reach a point in your career where an influencer coaching, mentoring, and social is something different. But if you want to still sell real estate and you want to be in there and instead of stuck in that middle, you have to prioritize having conversations.
But gosh, I mean, like what we're like going to talk about here, you're right, Andrea. I mean, that really is like able to help you, I think, but you still have to do these core things that we're going to talk about. I mean, let's go right down to it.
Right. Well, I think one of the first things is that for the top 5%, they don't negotiate their schedule.
Yep.
Like, it's something we've talked about in previous podcasts. We have gotten into the habit of Sunday nights. We sit down, we go through our schedule for the week. We make sure that we have prioritized, the 5 friends that you're going to, what am I trying to say, right?
Yeah,
5 new friends.
Yeah, you have your goal for the day of what you're going to succeed in that, and that's time blocked out, and you're negotiating. Nothing else is going to creep in and ruin your schedule.
And we get it. I mean, we were there, Andrea. I mean, for years and years and years, is that we would just chase our tail, and we did okay. But boy, it was exhausting to not have like a layout of the day. Now, in reality, there's going to be days where it's going to get turned upside down, and that's going to happen. But if you just have a time block every day that this is what you should be doing, more days than not, your day is not going to get turned upside down.
Right. And here's the thing is if you don't do that, then every day gets turned upside down. We've
Yes.
talked about this before. You become reactive
Yep.
instead of doing the things that move the needle to
Yep.
grow your business. And when I'm talking about, that Sunday schedule, it's we're looking at the week. What's important from our personal life, what matters to us, we block that out. When is the time that we're, making those phone calls? How many lunches and coffees do we have scheduled? Those are the things that we're doing. When are we spending time, with agents in the office that we're mentoring? Like those things are all blocked out in our schedule. And on Sunday, we're making sure that's all aligned. And I think that anybody that's a top producer is doing that, right? Yep. They're not negotiating with that. They're making changes if it's going to move the needle and it's something that they determine as a priority, but they've already blocked their schedule for the week.
What I call that, it's called review preview. So you review how your week went or your day went. For me, I do it every night because I can't, for a week, it just gets, I get too spread thin. So every night I sit down after dinner and I say, okay, what went well today? What needs to happen tomorrow? And then you do through that. You can do it for weeks, however it works for you, but you need to be reviewing what went well, what needs to change, and then you need to put your non-negotiables in the calendar. So on every level, but that same thought process needs to be implemented into your business.
Well, and that's a good example there, PT, is something that you do every day that you time block at the end of the day and I really think that's great. And so then rather than being behind the 8 ball when you wake up in the morning, that you've already got a game plan of what you're going to do the next day.
Yep. And, so we kind of talked about this a little bit already. I mean, you got to prioritize those conversations.
Yep.
You should be doing things like social media and all that kind of stuff, but you need to prioritize actual back and forth two-way conversations because that's how you're going to, if you want to be like the 5%, that's what they're doing. Right. And going back to your schedule and what review, preview, PT, I mean, you have to follow up also, right? So like if you have a conversation one day, I mean, you don't just stop talking to the person for the next week, right? So you really have to continue to follow up, continue to nurture that relationship. That has to happen if, again, you want to move the needle and you want to grow that relationship into somebody that maybe is referring you business or doing business with you.
Yeah, and it's being real too, right? Like the deal that I've been trying to do ever since Coach Eric Hatch told me that I need to have coffee or I need to play golf with people. I need to do this and that. And I'm trying to get better, but at least once a week, I am having coffee with somebody, right? And it was really funny, unintentionally, the very first coffee deal that I did, about halfway through, the guy, because I went on a Curacao weekend with him, and he's an older gentleman that owns his house. He's in his 80s. And we had a great conversation. And he said, hey, I meant to ask you, what do you do for a living? Didn't even know. And then he goes, that's what I figured that your last name, but that makes total sense. He said, now I know when I sell my house, which will be really soon here, or soon. I mean, because he's a little bit older, he said he may move across the country, what have you. But he said, I know who I'm going to sell my house with. And that was not, he didn't even know I was a real estate agent when we met. But then when we had the conversation, he liked me, which ended up building the trust, right? That, I mean, he was like, when I sell, you're the one that's going to do it.
And look, we talk about it all the time. It came naturally. Brad didn't start with he's a realtor, that, he spent a whole weekend with this gentleman. And it just came out when it needed to, and now look at where it is. Yeah. He's slotted in. Now there's follow-up needed on that.
Of course, which we just talked about, right? You got to follow up still.
That's what people in the middle aren't doing, right? Yep. Again, they're not having those real-life conversations, or they're being weird and trying to force it into being about real estate when it just needs to be about making a genuine relationship with someone.
Yep.
The other thing I think is, and we talked about this, is having a CRM and whatever. If you don't track what you're doing on a daily basis, how in the world do you know if you're doing what you need to do to grow your business or not? Yep. And someone might say, oh, well, I'm busy. Okay, well, what happens all of a sudden when you're not busy?
No,
what happens when the market crashes?
Yeah. And that's why, like you just mentioned in a previous podcast, is that if you have all these names in your database, there is not a reason. There is so much sitting in your database, and just by having the conversations, you're probably going to get some deals out of that.
Sure.
100%. And that brings us, I think, to one of the other big things that's different about that 5% and what they're doing, the other 95% isn't doing, is they're continuing to do things when they're boring.
Yep.
Let's be real, guys. Do you wake up every single day and want to call your database?
No. And
PT?
It's been very hard for me. I mean, I'll be quite transparent is that it's very hard. I mean, there's days when I don't feel like doing it at all.
Right.
And there's been days when I haven't. But knowing that you have to do this if you want to keep it moving is the reason why that we're able to do well is you have to do these things.
And I will say that the more that you do it, the more that it just becomes more natural,
Yeah.
right? And it just becomes more of an everyday thing. You're not scratching a get into the database anymore. It's like, no, you just pick up your phone and say, okay, I haven't talked to Bill in a while, need to give Bill a call and so forth. So you understand what needs to be done after you practice it for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, you have to look at nothing. If it was easy, right? If it was easy, then everybody would be doing it,
Sure.
right? If it was easy to be that top 5%, then everybody would be it. But it's not. It takes discipline, it takes accountability, it takes effort. I mean, you have to stay consistent in what it is that you're doing because that's what moves the needle and grows your business. So I think the other thing is I think when you're successful and we're calling it the 5% or whatever, I think that those people look at things differently from, the stuff we just talked about, right? If something's working or not working, right? Like they're going to figure out what they need to start doing and what they need to stop doing if they're not getting the results that they need, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes that we too often just going kind of back a little bit to what you said, PT, like we watch what other people do, right? Like, it's another thing like chasing somebody else's what they're doing to
Yep.
get to where they are. It might not work for you, you
Correct.
guys. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you need to figure out what works for you and start doing that and stop doing what doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Well, and you need to come to the understanding too. If you start something, you have an end goal to finish it, and it just continues to drag on week after week, and you're like, oh, got to move that task along, got to get this done. There's got to be a certain point where you put your foot down and you hire it out, and you have somebody else take care of it, so it does get done, and
Yeah.
then you move on to the thing. You have to understand, okay, once I start something, it needs to be finished, and if I don't, it needs to be outsourced.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah. People that are excelling, they do the things that are uncomfortable. They don't try to avoid the uncomfortable because the uncomfortable is what helps them grow and moves them forward. So,
Well, and our brain is wired to not do things uncomfortable because our brain tells us this might hurt, right?
Mhm.
And we have to battle through that. And that is what the 5% do is they know it's going to be hard. They know that they might really have a little bit of rejection. But at the end of the day, if somebody says no to you, you're in the same spot you were before you called them. And I got that one actually from my dad. But going back to you just kind of talked about it, PT, the start and the stop, and they wait for motivation. Ed Milet has this great deal he always talks about is that when we have a little bit of success, it gets warmer and warmer and warmer. But then we naturally, as human beings, say, I got to turn that temperature down, that, this is a little hard. It's like when you work out, right? If you run, if you lift weights, there's a certain point in that workout when your brain tells you, stop, don't do it. But your body can do it, right? So it's one of those, it's the same thing in business too, is that don't turn that temperature down, keep increasing the temperature.
The simplest example of this is this: when somebody gets busy and they get complacent of what they have in front of them, and they don't do all the stuff on the backside to
Yep.
continue to move themselves forward, right? And then you're like, oh, all my stuff's closed, I don't have anything. That's waiting for the motivation, is when you get to that point of like you have nothing left.
Yep.
You're always running the same plays every single day, so
Yep.
you don't have to wait for that.
well, and it goes back to when you get busy and you don't stay consistent. Like the analogy of going to the gym is a perfect one, right? When my clothes don't fit the way I want them to fit, it's generally because I've gotten busy, right? I didn't make going to the gym or working out like I normally do a priority. So therefore, I'm not getting results. It's the same thing in business, right? You have to stay consistent. And that's literally the big thing, right? Agents don't fail because of lack of opportunity. I mean, I could give you a list of agents with, even in some of our groups of agents we mentor now, that have all kinds of opportunities sitting in front of them. They're just not being consistent in how they are approaching that opportunity and what they're doing to utilize it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Mhm.
given to you now. How are you going to do it? So they're failing because they're not being consistent. It's the same thing that people do
And
when they're working out.
you can't, and this is what's hard about being a trainer
yeah.
and a coach is that you can't want it on their behalf. They have to want it
Correct.
internally.
Yeah. Well, it's no different than if you have a seller who's listing a house and you know that the price is that they want to list it at is not the right price, and you know it, and you give in and you just do it. I mean, are you setting them up for success?
No,
No. I mean, it's the same thing, right? You can't do it for someone else. They have to do it for themselves
that's
for
exactly
success.
right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. So the other thing I think is that top 5% of people are in an environment, in a culture
Yeah.
that all everybody's wants the same thing, right? They want each other to be successful. They're holding each other accountable. They're collaborating together. I mean, that's something super beautiful. I mean, I think that was one of our missions for us in our own in Buy Sell Build QC that we opened the office we opened in the Quad Cities when we moved to Real. One of the things we said our mission was is that's really what we wanted, right? We wanted a group of agents that were successful and helping each other be successful. We've attracted a ton of new and younger agents, which is super cool. And at first we're like, wow, we're not set up for this. But the coolest thing has happened in the last like year or so as we've, learned and grown and whatever is like those agents are the ones that are coming to our group are coming to our group because they're seeing the success that the 8 people in our office are having and they want that, right? So we're collaborating together. We're holding each other accountable. And now we're watching them grow because they're learning from the other agents who are really pouring time and working together, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
I've got Eric Hatch on my mind a lot here
well,
right now,
because
but
we learned in a previous podcast because he talks about kegs.
well, okay, that's right.
You'll have to
But
go back a podcast
he
for that one.
also talks about the racehorses and the
Yep.
donkeys, right? So when you put racehorses in with a bunch of donkeys, what happens with the racehorse?
They slow down.
Correct. If you put a donkey in with all racehorses, what happens?
Speeds up.
You've got it. And that's what's happened in our office. And I'm not calling any of our great agents donkeys, but there have been ones that weren't quite as motivated when they joined the 30K in 50 days. And now to watch them now, this little culture that they have built, like a lot of them, they were like, oh, I mean, you did such a great job. You put in all this time. I didn't do the work for them. They did.
Right.
They chose that they wanted to be better versions of themselves, which was just really, really, really cool. And so we've got a couple race horses in there that have totally taken off, and it has upgraded everybody's real estate game so much.
I was just going to say that's definitely so going back to like those were the people that probably in a different environment would have been drifting more towards that middle, right?
Yep.
And instead, we're like, okay, you don't want to be part of the middle. You're here, you're showing up, you're putting up in the time. So they are moving up to that, 5%. And I think that's a big thing is like your environment matters so much. The culture matters, who you're being mentored by, who you're being trained by, how they're pouring into you. If they don't care, if they just want you to just, I guess, settle, right? I mean, you can have a successful career in the middle.
Sure. Oh, sure.
Nobody says you
Yeah.
can. I mean, I don't think that, but you're really seeing more and more of the business being done by that top 5%. So, I think what's cool in our office and our culture is exactly what you said, Brad, though. The environment we're creating, it's not just the 1, 2, or 3, top agents, as you would call them in the traditional model or even the environment we came from, right? Those people are selling a lot of real estate. Now we have other people that are moving up that we have a leaderboard, in our office that are moving up and, coming right alongside them.
Sure.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you there. And let's talk a little bit about leaderboards too. Winners love leaderboards. And I hate to use the word losers, but losers do not like leaderboards, right? I mean, they don't want to be exposed. I mean, who does?
Well,
Right?
because you don't have to hold yourself accountable.
Right. Correct.
If nobody knows, like that is another thing I would say. I think if you're an agent, you feel like you're stuck in the middle and you're not growing, and that leaderboard makes you uncomfortable if you're in an environment like that where you can see, okay, well, why does it make you uncomfortable? Are
Yeah.
you feeling because you're not doing what you should be doing,
Mhm.
or does it make you
Mhm.
uncomfortable because this isn't for you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, and like what's so cool with our little group there that's grown so much. I mean, I'll just use really PT as a great example is like I had mentioned, there were a lot of awesomes and cools too. Now he literally was when we were out of town running these meetings. And when I was there, stepping up and leading these groups. I mean, and that is so much progress. And it's so cool to watch other people step up. I mean, I'll give Brooke Mural
we're doing first and last names today.
a lot of credit too. I mean, she organized this coffee group.
Yeah.
I mean, this was an agent 2 years ago that was very quiet and was not a leader then. She was young. And now all of a sudden it's like all these people in this group, they've all done these little things that, I mean, they've just grown their business with each other and it's culture.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I don't even know. And Brooke, we'll have to have her on sometime. I don't know that she'd still be in the business if she was in her previous environment. I
Yeah.
really don't, because it wasn't an environment that was pushing her up and forward. It was status quo. Okay, you have X amount of business because she has a connection in the real estate, so she probably would always kind of have that.
Yeah.
But would she have grown? And she
No.
has come just crazy. Like,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
remember like a year ago, she came up to me. She said, "I joined JC's," and I'm like, "You what?" It's like that is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get out of her comfort zone and grow like that
But it
is
goes
just
back
amazing.
to they're doing things differently,
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And she's staying consistent even when it's boring. That's what's separating
yep,
her. That's why she continues to grow. She doesn't want to be in the middle. She wants to move up and continue to be
yep,
successful. So, but that's the cool thing though about our culture is it's not the same people winning every time.
yep,
That's what's exciting, and watching that is what's exciting, and that's what helps everybody continue to
yep.
grow. And PT, I feel like you had something to add to that.
For me, it's fun to watch people that go through these different stages of their motivation and learning and so forth. And at the beginning, it starts with you just showing up and then getting involved, and then at the end, like you mentioned, Brad, with myself and others too that we're seeing within the office, is now they're teaching people what they've learned,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you continue to grow from that as well. And so watching the lifespan of that just instills confidence in such a quick time.
And
Yeah.
I will wear this out, and I have said it on a lot of podcasts. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself,
Yep.
and that's what all of you all have all done is you showed up, you did the work, and the reason why is you told yourself that you were going to do that. So the more you do this, the more confidence that really brings to that allows you to get up and talk in front of people and not be nervous. I mean, maybe a little, I have no idea, but you don't seem like it, but it's that you know this, and the reason why is you have kept all these promises.
Well, and I think the biggest thing too is sometimes, and even listening to this podcast, I'm sure there's people that are feeling like, wow, they're pretty judgy, like with people and, and calling them out and whatever. I mean, because there are people that, and we've heard that from a couple of people too, that like, well, I don't want to have to do things your way. And I don't want somebody that's telling me what to do. Like I can run my business however I want to run my business. That's fine. You
Sure.
can, right? All this podcast is meant to do, and all this conversation is meant to do is just make you aware of the things that other people are doing that are actually moving the needle. And when we're talking about being a separator in this industry and you have the 95% and the 5%, I mean, anybody can move to the top
Mhm.
5%. Like literally, it's just hard work. There is an agent who's now retired, and he's one of the OGs. Originally was a Bowie realtor, then was with our previous brokerage and all the things. And I'll never forget, he said it was when you were newer in the business, Brad, and Brad said to him, because he was number
Hmm.
one for
Yeah.
years and years and years. And what's your secret? Like, what do you do? Like, what is it that you're doing? How do you keep consistently being, number one and selling all these houses or being one of the top, 3 or 4 agents in the Quad Cities? And he said, you know what? I'm not smarter than anybody else. I just work harder.
Yep.
Like I show up. I want to do this. This is what I'm doing for my career. This is how I'm supporting my family. This is the business I'm building. And so I just work hard. And that is literally that gap, right? Between that 95% and that 5%, which used to be 80% 20
Yep.
and 90 and 10. It's literally not necessarily talent.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Hard
It's
work.
behavior. It's consistency.
And just confidence, just go out and do it, right?
Right.
And I heard this week from Brad Underwood. Of course, I had to have a quote from him too, right? The
Because we're recording this on the day that the Ally and I are playing tonight.
ILL. But what he said to his team, which I loved, was that, they've done all this practice, they've done all these things, and they've had all these accomplishments, and they have a big game tonight. And his one piece of advice, which I would say this to all of our agents and all of you out there, is to just let it rip.
Yeah.
Like, don't
Do it.
overthink it, right?
Mhm.
Like when you have that open shot, shoot the ball, right?
Yeah.
Don't think twice about it. Same deal like in real estate is that just do it. Just go out there, make those calls. If you've got the opportunity, do it. If you're
Do
like
the open
offered something,
houses.
do it.
Yeah,
Just,
do the open
yep,
houses. Get involved in the
yep.
community, like to
Let
meet
it
more
rip.
because at the end of the day, like when we say get involved in the community, people are like, well, I don't understand. It's a numbers
Yep.
game, right? Like the more people you meet, the more people you build a relationship with, the more people you have conversations with, are the more people that are in your world that then will find out, whether it's over coffee or somebody tells them, like Brad just said, that you sell real estate. And likelihood is that they are going to at some point need to buy or sell a home, or know someone that needs to buy or sell a home. That is literally where it's all at. But if you don't ever put yourself out there and you're not having the conversations, that can't happen to the same level that it does. And I can't agree with you more, Brad, with what you just said. But the other thing that I want to add into this is, like, people look at some agents and go, there's an agent in our office that she, not even her first full year in the business, did an open house at one of our luxury listings. And I mean, I kind of was joking, but I was kind of serious with her when she did it. I said, "You're going to sell this house, right?"
It's like, oh, no.
No, oh gosh, that'd be a dream, right? I mean, again, first year in the business, not even a full year. And it was an $850,000 house. Again, those of you who aren't familiar with our market, I think our average price point's around $240,000. She literally picked up a buyer at the open house that ended up buying that house and also listed their $600,000 house with her. Okay. So that was luck. I mean, but guess what? She showed up. She was at the open house putting in the work. So you're going to have like the luck that's going to happen from time to time. And that's going to give you those little confidence boosters and that energy that you need. But you're not going to just drift into the success. You have to decide you want it, put in the work, show up, and then the results come.
Well, and it was really kind of funny that this just happened today, that there was a last minute sign call, and we tried to get a hold of a couple agents. They couldn't do it, one of them anyway. And so we sent her a text message, and she immediately said yes. And she said, even if they don't buy this house, I want to pick them up as a buyer.
Yeah, I want a relationship with them.
That is like what I just said. Letting it rip, right? I mean, she just is like, she will take any opportunity possible. And she happens to be one of our top agents.
I mean, it's not a surprise why, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just outworking everybody and having that hunger deep inside of you to be the best possibly you can, because that's all you can control.
Always be the best version of yourself.
Here's what I'm going to leave you guys with, okay? So as we do this drift, I remember, wanting to be part of the 20% in real estate, wanting to be part of the 10%. And now 5%. If you want to be in that 5%, you don't want to be in the middle anymore. You don't want to be in the lower part of that. Just choose to be part of the 5%. Yeah. Get up every morning and think to yourself, I don't want to be in the middle. I don't want to do this part-time. I want to excel at this. I want to be successful at this. I want to be proud of myself. I want to keep my promises to myself. I want to be part of the 5% that are pulling away in the real estate market. And guess what? If you make that decision every morning, that's what's going to happen. You're going to.
And I will tell you, anybody can do it.
That's right.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better. So anybody
right. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Peace.
Peace.